Yeah, I just made a cup of coffee. You got me with my mouth full. But
Oh yeah, no problem.
welcome, welcome everybody. I hope you all are wide awake since it's so late in the morning. And we're glad that you're here today. It was a really great conversation for the pre-session. So for anybody who, is interested in participating in that, who hasn't been, make sure you reach out and let us know. Handoff time.
Thanks, Joanna. We'll have Stephen. You can set up everything.
Okay, awesome. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in for another episode of Tech School. Today we have an awesome speaker. We have Melisa jumping on today. She's going to talk about, do a deep dive into resources for job seekers, hiring managers, and she'll be able to tell you more about that here in a second. But before we start, did want to mention for those of you that are tuning in on YouTube or tuning in on YouTube Live, feel free to like, comment, subscribe to our channel. All the likes and comments, interaction we get with videos like these help push it out to more people. And so you leaving a like or leaving a comment, sharing your thoughts, asking a question could push this video out to somebody who really needed to hear part of the message that Melisa's sharing today. So if you have a chance, feel free to do so, and I will hand it off over to Melisa.
Awesome, thank you. I'm happy to be here. I'm Melisa Meral. I own a company here in San Diego called Let's Get You Hired. So when I connected with Curling and Steven, basically, gave me some background about your organization and maybe some pain points that you might be struggling with as a founder, or also as a job seeker if you're not kind of, to that point yet. So today is really meant to be, as interactive as possible as well. I noticed most of you aren't on video, which I think is pretty normal because I've attended a few of these, but feel free to pop on video if you want to ask a question or be seen, just so I know who I'm talking to. But feel free also to jump in. I'm not going to be monitoring the chat because that's a lot of driving a plane when you're sharing a screen and speaking and looking at your notes. So if you do have a question, feel free to butt in. All right, so learning outcomes today are going to be the key actions your business can take to attract and retain talent that aligns with your company culture while you're working remotely. So that can be a struggle, right? If you are remote, if you have a remote workforce, and still trying to be able to connect and interact and engage with your team as much as possible, even through a screen. Strategies and best practices for creating an easy to implement hiring process. So I'm really process focused and efficiency focused, wanting to make sure that people are set up for success during the onboarding process all the way through, their 30, 60, 90 days within the organization, and then how that would tie to your values, your brand, and your company culture overall. Also, effective ways to assess and evaluate talent relative to that same, purpose, values, and culture. So I always like to start off with a quote. I love this one from the former COO of GE. Nothing we do is more important than hiring and developing people. At the end of the day, you bet on people, not strategies. So without your people, without you and your business, without the people that support your business, what are you, right? So really focused on the people aspect. The labor market. So if you had attended one of my webinars back in February of 2020, we would have had a very different screen here. But basically, unemployment rate is kind of hovering around 15% or so right now in the state of California, depending on where you're at in San Diego. It's fluctuating from between like 10 to 15%. So there are quite a few people out of work, obviously quite a few industries that have been affected by the pandemic, whether that's in, health and beauty, gyms, all kinds of things, hospitality, obviously. There's quite a bit going on in the labor market, but that's not to say that if you're a job seeker, you can't find a job right now. And if you're looking for talent, it's a great hiring managers market for you right now because there's a lot of talent available. So best practices, basically when you're onboarding, I'll get into kind of the 30, 60, 90 plans here in a second, but really when you have lower turnover, you save money. On average, it costs about double somebody's salary to let them go. So let that sink in for a second. So say you're hiring somebody that you're paying $50,000. That person isn't performing well. The time, energy, money it's going to take to actually replace that person, replace that knowledge that they had about your company and their role. You can really start to lose money very quickly when you have a high turnover rate. So I'm all about setting people up for success right from the start. Also with value aligned talent. So when you are starting your company, hopefully you're also creating your company values, or if you don't have company values yet, at least maybe you have personal values. So things that you hold as sort of your guiding principles, your SOP to life, so to speak. So how are you also aligning that with the people that you're bringing in to your organization? Curling and Stephen, do you know how many people on the call today have teams already?
Sure. Yeah. I would say like 1/3, right? And we also have a couple people that's job seekers offhand, just because I know them too. So that's what it kind of looks like. But I think the key thing is actually, about 1/3.
Okay, and I'll kind of give a twist on each of these for the job seeker as well then in that case. So again, making sure that your values are aligned with the companies that you're also aligning with and applying to. You're not just kind of blanketing the earth with your resume and saying, oh, there's 500 jobs on Indeed today, so I'm going to go apply to all 500 of them. Are you actually going and looking at their website, looking at their core values that are posted, looking at maybe Glassdoor reviews to see what people are saying about working there? Are you checking out their social media profiles, looking at their LinkedIn company page to see the types of people that work there? All of those fun things that you can do to actually research, is it going to be in alignment with what you want? Same with role aligned talent. So, making sure that if you are a person filled with gumption and you want to just go for it, and my company's name is Make Shit Happen LLC, so obviously those are the types of people that I want in my organization, and I'm not going to hire people that are just going to kind of be a slow moving turtle and dilly dally along, right? But for other organizations, they want that. They want people that are careful and calculated and cautious and more calm in energy. So it's really about finding the right fit on both ends, from the hiring manager's perspective and the job seeker. So identifying your hiring process, when you get to the point of wanting to be able to hire, it's really important, again, to have that process and that plan. I always like to say proper planning prevents poor performance. So if you're trying to get, that purple unicorn into your organization and you might not have a ton of money right now to pay them, you might not have a ton of benefits to offer them, really trying to figure out, okay, how am I going to plan out this hiring process in a way that's going to be streamlined, efficient, effective, and be credible to your brand. So, you don't want to be known as that company that's just sort of a big mess, right? You want to have your ducks in a row. So here's an example of what that could look like visually. Super simple. The prep, the sourcing and screening, the actual interviewing, assessing and reviewing the people that you've interviewed, and then the pre-hire and the offer. So that's pretty simple. As far as the digital age, so gone are kind of the days of posting in the Penny Saver or the San Diego Reader or the San Diego Union Tribune. Now everything is pretty much online. So really, I love LinkedIn. That is my one and only, true platform that I really like to work within. But there's so many other websites as well, like Indeed, Glassdoor, Career Builder, Monster is still around, even Craigslist is still around. So really just figuring out where you want to A, search for a job if you're a job seeker, or B, post jobs if you're hiring. When you are posting those job ads, really showcasing your culture. So what's it like to work there? If you're a team of 1 or 2, be honest about that. Hey, we're in full startup mode. We don't have a ton of people. We don't have a ton of perks and benefits, but you have the opportunity to really be with a great company that you can learn and grow with. It's all about how you spin it, right? So it's all, you don't want to come in and say, we only have 1 person, so your job might be really crazy and you might be wearing 500 hats and things might be really stressful. You don't want to word it that way, obviously. You want to be really positive in your job ads. And then when you're advertising them, figuring out, what's going to be most cost effective for you as far as budget goes. So Indeed, you can still post for free. Craigslist is $5. LinkedIn, what I usually tell people is if you have a large network of connections on LinkedIn, and if you have people that are sort of supporting your business growth journey, have them just post it on their actual page. So just, create a LinkedIn post, maybe create a simple Canva flyer. Canva.com is what I use all day, every day to make little flyers here and there. If you haven't used that platform, it's totally free. And create a little job ad flyer, basically. Post it on your feed, ask a few friends to post it on their feed. You don't have to spend, $500 per quarter on Indeed. I think our current budget, I have a full-time job as well. We do a lot of hiring. I'm pretty sure we spend about $20,000 on LinkedIn every year. So that can get really, really expensive. And I'm all about the shortcuts when you are just starting out and you don't have that capital. Any questions so far, or anything that I'm missing in the chat if you guys are looking at the chat?
Yeah, if someone chats, Melissa, we'll try to slide it in.
Okay, sounds good. I always feel like I'm flying a plane when I'm like,
Yeah, you're doing good. You're doing good. Good pilot.
Sharing the screen, going over here. Okay. Usually these are live, by the way. Usually I'm a live speaker. I'm on stage in front of thousands of people. So I've really had to pivot to get to this point of virtual stuff.
Sure, yeah.
So attracting talent. So like I said, proper planning prevents poor performance. Creating that plan, building that talent funnel, considering your time, your resources. Do you have a budget for posting? And then what are your expected outcomes? So, do you want that purple unicorn, or is what you're hiring for more like a virtual assistant, which is pretty much dime a dozen? You can go on to Upwork, you can go on to Fiverr, you can find people in other countries, different exchange rates, different currencies that might be a little cheaper than here in the US, especially in San Diego. So really getting creative on how to be cognizant of your time, your resources, and your budget. Leveraging the entire company to uniquely brand and promote. So again, if you have a network of supporters, if you already have a team, having them post that they work there on LinkedIn, having them be tied to your social media pages, featuring, spotlighting, hey, this is our VA, this is our accounts receivable person, this is our person that's a engineer in the back end, things like that. Really just branding out the company and then leveraging the people that you have or the network of supporters that are kind of lifting you up and supporting you, like people in this cohort, hopefully. Creating content. So if you have a website, you can also create a careers page. That's another free way to look at posting a job. This also goes for job seekers. So if there are, say, 5 to 10 companies that are like your dream companies, you really, really want to work there. Sometimes if they're smaller startups, they might not have all the budget to be posting on all of these job boards. So simply go to their actual website. Hopefully they have a careers page, and hopefully they've actually posted that they're looking for somebody. You can also do a cold pitch on LinkedIn. So say you have the list of 5 to 10 dream companies that you would like to work for. You can DM people on LinkedIn. It's not as stuffy as people make LinkedIn sound. I know it's a lot easier to send a DM on like Instagram, for example, or Twitter. But I think a lot of times I run into people having kind of a more formalized connotation of what LinkedIn is. And I am all for just reaching out to people, send a connection request. You don't have to know them. You don't have to send a message with your connection request. Literally just, hi, I'm so-and-so. I love your company. I love this, this, and this about it. I think I could offer this, this, and this. What do you think? Let's set up a phone call. Keep it simple. It doesn't have to be this like big, bad, scary thing. What's the worst that can happen? They can not respond and you can go on red, right? Like it's okay. So I like to get creative with also applying to jobs. Again, with the creating appealing job ads. So talking about why your company's awesome, what the job is all about, not having that stuffy kind of Times New Roman, black and white, very formal description of what jobs are. I think that also goes hand in hand with back in the day in the 80s and early 90s when we were posting in the Penny Saver and the Reader and the Union Tribune. It helps to be a little more, I don't want to say casual because it depends on your organization and, you know, your vibe, but more humanized, I would say, more humanized and more customized, I think is kind of the direction that job ads are going in lately, including those success factors, spotlighting interesting details. Maybe you have like a wine Wednesday virtually where, you know, your 5 team members all get together and they drink wine. They have happy hour, or they have like a Friday feels session where you guys focus on EQ and self-awareness and you all talk about your wins and your struggles from the week. Little things like that can also be seen as compelling benefits. It doesn't have to just be medical, dental, vision, 401k, EAP plan, you know, these things that are more corporate, really speak to what is actually fun and unique about your company. And then from the job seeker standpoint, really looking for those things. Is it important for you to have medical, dental, vision, or are you under 26 and you're still on your parents' plan and you don't care? Or, you know, are you married and you have your spouse's benefits and you don't care? Things like that, really going into it with that lens of what do I need to be successful, not just in my career, but in my life. And I talk really fast, by the way, if you haven't noticed. Did you want to say something, Curling?
Oh, well, I did. There was a little comment. I think Tripty said beautiful slides. So since we've been working on pitch decks, yeah, we all we're looking at even just the UI of your slides. They look good.
Oh, thank you. I try to make them clean and branded. My colors are this kind of yellow goldenrod and then my black color. I'll talk about my book in a second too. So
yeah, definitely.
Same colors there. Let me drink some water. Hang on one second.
Sure.
So common mistakes on the actual job ad are underselling the company, missing information about the kind of, you know, more fluffy stuff. Listing, like I said, that kind of, you know, black and white Times New Roman, very dull and boring and flat, robotic listing of duties and responsibilities, or an obvious cut and paste. Sometimes I see this out in the market where somebody says, okay, I need to hire a DevOps engineer and I'm not a technical person and I don't know what the heck that is, but I know I need it because my business coach told me I need it to develop this part of my app or whatever, right? It's really easy to just go onto Indeed or Career Builder or Glassdoor and search DevOps engineer and then copy and paste somebody else's job ad. I highly recommend against that. I've seen them where they literally forgot to delete the company's name. So, you know, you have that company's name now on your page and it's very clear what you did. So really just take the time, take the 10, 15 minutes to really go in there, make it a little fluffier, make it a little more culture and values based as well. Don't create faceless carbon copy job ads. That's the takeaway from this one. So here's just an example of what that would look like and kind of the different pieces of the anatomy of a job ad. So talking about who you are as a company, what your vision is, your values, what you're committed to should always be at the top, first place. What's the job all about? So the actual responsibilities and duties of what this person is going to be doing. And then what you can offer. So again, it doesn't have to be this medical, dental, vision, 401k, corporatized type stuff. It can be more of the fun stuff. We do, you know, quarterly team building events, or we have monthly offsites, or we have a cool co-working space that we work out of, whatever that might be for you. And then what we offer, what you can offer, I messed that up. What we can offer you is the one that I just spoke on. And then what you can offer is less of their black and white kind of, you know, this is what I do and this is who I am and these are my responsibilities, and more of like the soft skills, the behavioral type traits that you're looking for in somebody. So you can say in there, you know, I'm looking for somebody that's high energy, able to pivot at the drop of a hat, and, you know, able to work in a fast-paced, ever-changing environment. You can put that in there. Or you can say, we're really looking for somebody that is skilled in time management and process improvement, and we want somebody to be slow moving yet able to deliver, however that works for you. So that's kind of the anatomy of what one of those job ads could look like. When you are sourcing and screening, again, highlighting culture and values. So being mindful that you are branding yourself whenever you're posting on one of these job boards, or you're posting on your LinkedIn with your Canva graphic. Hey, I'm looking for this type of person to join my team. It is all branding. So it all relates back to, like Tripti said, my slides look like this. They have my branded colors in here. If I was to create a job ad, it would be the same, right? It would show up as I am and as my brand is. So just be cognizant of that, and don't copy paste, don't post, the BS that is really easy to take the easy way out. Really take the time to figure out what you want to say. Let's see. Prepping for a virtual interview. So a lot of us are no longer doing in-person interviews. We've mostly moved to, Microsoft Teams, Google Meet, Skype, Zoom, all of these platforms, sometimes even FaceTime. So really schedule the meeting strategically. Only invite those that absolutely need to attend and that are going to be present and engaged. Don't hire the guy that's over here texting or like looking off into space, or looking at another screen and not paying attention. Really make sure that when you're with your candidate, you are there for them. This goes the same for the job seeker. So when you're being interviewed virtually, really making sure that you are ready to go. You've prepped yourself. I don't care if you're wearing PJ pants, just as long as you look good, on the waist up. Making sure that you have a quiet space, your kids aren't running around in the background, your dog isn't barking. My mailman just came and my dog was barking just now, so hopefully you didn't hear that. But like, we're all at home, right? We all need to kind of try to show up as our best and not, with chaos going on behind us, because chances are they're not going to hire you if they know that you're going to be distracted or there's too much going on. Prepping the company branded documents to screen share. So I've done interviews where, we actually share a video about our company culture or our talent acquisition process. If you need it, this is kind of extra, but if you have like a slide deck, like, hey, this is a little bit about us, and then you can ask questions tied to those various slides. Starting on time, that's a no-brainer. Sticking to the agenda, eliminating tangents and side conversations. That's more of like a meeting hack, less of an interview hack. I kind of like the side tangents because a lot of times people will start to open up and say things that they wouldn't usually say. So I like to let people talk. And sometimes I'm like, probably shouldn't have said that. But, sometimes that's the best way, where you're not getting the scripted answer and you're getting their real feelings about it. I see some chats coming through. Is there anything I need?
Yeah, we can. I know you like it be interactive. We can kind of switch it up. We got one from Joanna. What was your favorite interview question to ask? That was one.
Gosh, right before this, I was on a call where I just mapped out like 50 interview questions for one of my clients, and now my brain is like fritzing out. I always ask about values. Hey, what have you? It insinuates that they've looked at the company website that has the values on it. So if you haven't, then that kind of tells me that they didn't really prep for the interview. They didn't really care enough. Like, maybe they shot off 50 resumes on LinkedIn yesterday, and now they're sitting down to a phone screen with me and they don't even remember what they applied to. That's not necessarily the nicest answer, but I'm kind of a little bit vicious in that way when I'm interviewing. So how do you personally relate to one of our core values? Could be a question there. One that's a little bit more soft skills, behavioral based is, I just blanked. Hi, Tripti. I saw somebody else pull up on my screen. There she is. Who are you on a bad day? I like to ask that question because we all have bad days. We're all humans. None of us are perfect. We're all hopefully working on our EQ and our social awareness. But who are you on a bad day can really lead to some interesting conversations when you're meeting with a candidate.
Yeah, that's great. Those are really, really good. I can have like Tripty, if you want to unmute yourself and you can ask your question.
I like both of those answers. They were great. They are totally showing up in the LinkedIn article.
Thanks, Joanna. But Tripty, if
Right,
you
but
want to act.
let me know if I cut out because I'm having all of a sudden just random.
Sure. Yeah, sure.
So if I cut out, please just go ahead. So my question is, as we've gone to onboarding and interviewing people virtually, do you notice a difference in the quality of those candidates versus the ones that you interacted with on, in a traditional way?
I like to do a 3-step process because that's what I'm comfortable with. So I like to do a phone screen first where we're not even on video. Then I'll do a video interview, and then I'll usually do an in-person, socially distanced out at a coffee shop outside type in-person interview. I do notice that. It's easy to be even faker on video than it is when you're belly to belly with somebody. So I think everybody wants to shine their best light when they're a job seeker, right? And when they're interviewing. And sometimes people lie, unfortunately. Sometimes people massage the truth. Sometimes people try to just give you the answer that's like scripted and it's not how they actually feel. And I'm a very intuitive person from just being like an empath standpoint. So if I'm next to you and I can actually feel your energy, I'm like, no, this person's full of it, and so on and so forth. So it's up to you what your comfort level is, but just keep that in mind as, you're talking to somebody behind a screen.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's great. And we'll have one more. We'll have you continue. We have one from Eli, who I met Eli from San Diego Startup Month. Eli, do you want to unmute yourself or just ask your question?
Sure. Can anybody hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, I can hear you, Eli.
Yes, I was just wondering what your thoughts are on the dress code when interviewing virtually, like on a video.
Yeah, of course. It depends on the role. So if you've looked at the website, if you've looked at the company's social media presence, if you've maybe been to that office space, or if it's a restaurant, or if it's a salon or a store, or, some sort of brick and mortar, you probably already kind of have an idea. Or if you know somebody that works there, you could simply ask them. But I always keep it simple. I mean, I'm wearing a very simple black t-shirt today. I'm not like wearing a suit and tie. But I think it's just making sure that when you're on virtual that you look good from here up. It doesn't matter what's going on downstairs. If you've got your fluffy socks on now that we're cooling down in San Diego, or your Ugg boots or whatever. I think just making sure that you show up clean, simple, professional. If that's your style, that's my style. I'm very minimalistic. But if you want to wear like a bright color to stand out, you can. There's all these theories about color theory and this and that. I don't get into all that. I'm like, keep it simple, be a good interviewer, and you'll be fine.
And there's one more question I'll probably do from Joanna. Joanna, do you want to unmute yourself?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, as you were talking about, like, distractions and creating a quiet place, like what can we do as like employers to make people comfortable during the interview process so they like us and they feel like, oh, I would love to work with that person because they're like so understanding of like how I am.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on how you run your ship as like the captain of the ship, being a hiring manager. I think if you are a family-friendly environment, right? Like typically say if you had an office, a co-working space, and you're allowing dogs or you're allowing kids to come in if there's daycare issues or childcare issues, then by all means, like you can tell people, hey, oh, it's fine. I've had a woman that's nursed on a video interview before.
Oh, wow.
And to me, it's like, okay, cool. Like it's life. But I think it's what your comfort level is and sort of, again, what your company culture represents and what your core values represent. If that's something that you're totally open to, then make that clear in the interview and make them feel comfortable. If it's like, hey, oh, I'm not really comfortable with that. Can you just go off video and we can continue the interview, just with audio? That would be like a nice way to say that. Yeah.
That's a really good.
That was a really good tip. We have one more from the cohort. Sunny, you want to ask another question? I think this is a good topic. This interview topic, Melissa, was
Yeah.
Well, mine isn't regarding the interview, actually.
Sure. Yeah.
This is actually a challenge that I'm facing, and it's kind of going back to what you're talking about as far as the job descriptions, like, kind of fitting that out. So I am one of those people that's not tech savvy. And it's funny that you were saying, like, don't go on to somebody else's website or a Glassdoor or something and copy paste. But even with that, if you don't, how are you able to know what skills you actually need? If you can understand the language, that's one thing, but knowing what skills are needed in order to develop whatever it is that you're developing, how would you be able to know what to put on that?
Yeah, I think it's talking to other people that might be in that role that you might know would be one thing. Another thing would be finding somebody on LinkedIn that has that current title and just saying, hey, are you open to a 15-minute phone call? I'm doing some research on people within your industry or within your job title. Are you open to a conversation? 9 times out of 10, people love to talk about themselves. So they're going to give you lots of information. The other thing is, by all means, feel free to look at other websites, do your market research, look at, other job boards. My note on that page was just don't copy paste it without even customizing it.
Right.
So, you have to have a place to start from, obviously. And the other thing is YouTube videos have been quite helpful with the more technical type roles. Like, I had something come across my desk the other day that was a production manager for a local biotech company. And I'm like, okay, I don't know what that is. I know what a project manager is, but I don't know what a production manager is. So all I did was go on YouTube, watched probably about 5 videos, and then I was like, oh, okay, that's what that is.
Thank you. Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Yeah. Again, don't be afraid to, you're not reinventing the wheel. Like, these are roles, these are titles, these are things that people know out in the job market. But just put your twist on it is the only thing that bugs me when I see, the full copy paste. I'm like, no. All right. So wrapping up this slide, always encouraging the active participation, no multitasking. So, you don't see me here on my phone or looking out the window or whatever, right? I'm focused. And then taking 5 minutes to wrap up and give them the idea of what the next steps are. People want to be guided through a process. They don't want to be, ghosted. They don't want to have disjointed conversations with people. I'm usually pretty frank if I know that I just had a video interview with that person or a phone interview. And I'm like, I know this isn't going to move to next steps. I will be very honest with them, and I try not to waste people's time. All right. So a few interview questions. I know you had asked, what are my favorite interview questions? That being, how do you relate to our company values, and who are you on a bad day? Here are a few others. What was your favorite position? Blah, blah, blah. These are more soft skill related as well, more behavioral type questions. You can screenshot that, or I can also send this deck to Stephen if you want to send it out eventually. Values-based interview questions. So again, with the, what do you think about our company values and how they relate to your own? For example, innovation is one that I see listed as a core value for so many companies. That one's a little bit more generic, but who doesn't love innovation? When have you delivered a creative solution for a customer, client, or team you were working on, and what was the outcome? That's a good way to kind of open it up, leave it open-ended. Another thing with interview questions is asking yes or no questions usually doesn't get you very far, especially with the more cerebral type people, more of the introverted type people, maybe more of the technical people. Have you seen our company values? Yes. Okay. There has to be more conversation and leaving it more open-ended. Hopefully that makes sense. Another one would be ownership. So can you provide an example of a time when you received very little direction, but still drove a deliverable to the finish line? And give people time to think. That's a mouthful, right? Give people 30 seconds to 1 minute. You can preface your questions with take as much time as you need. I know some of these are not necessarily the normal questions you've been asked in the past, and it might take a moment to kind of go into your computer drive in here and find that memory and find that example. So being patient with people too. Anything that I'm missing yet?
You just made me wonder, do you ever give questions to candidates ahead of time? Like if you know it's a really introverted person or a person that might need some time to like really think through stuff?
I wouldn't give them the specific questions because I feel like that could put them down a rabbit hole where they might have somebody else answer it, or they might find, go onto Quora and like copy paste somebody else's answer.
That's a good point.
But I do like the idea. That's a good point. I do like the idea of, I guess, giving them a rundown. Again, they like to be guided through the process. So when you're setting up that initial phone screen or phone interview, hey, Stephen, we're going to jump on a call for 30 minutes. I'm going to ask you to tell me a little bit about yourself. From there, I'm going to tell you a little bit about our organization and what we're looking for. And then from there, I'm going to ask you 5 to 10 behavioral related questions that relate to your soft skills. That way, they're not like blindsided, like, oh my God, why are you asking me about my anger issues? Like, I think if you preface it and you give them that roadmap, they're less likely to feel uncomfortable.
That's great.
I think also, sorry if I could just jump in, that a lot of people, for larger companies are already sort of looking at the Glassdoor traditional interview questions, to prep themselves for likely questions. And I love what Joanna's saying about people who are a little bit more introverted, who do take a little bit longer to process, for them to, be prepared in itself. Is it like, I understand it takes away from the authenticity of the moment, but I do think it's for them maybe a good opportunity for them to be thoughtful and intentional about what message they want to get across to you.
Yeah. However you feel comfortable doing it. Again, these are like guideposts, these are guidelines, but it's all going to relate to your vibe, your company culture. Again, I'm a very like cut and dry type, give it to me straight person if you can't tell. But, not everybody is like me. I'm fully aware of that. So it's whatever's going to work for you and the type of culture you want to foster.
What are your thoughts on these sort of newer sort of recruiting type websites where people post videos about like what the culture is at the company? Is that authentic in your experience?
I like it. I like anything to do with video. Like anytime you can not be just a static image or just a static post, anytime there's like, you can see the life behind it. That's why I also like video interviews. Anytime that's going to build the trust. Oh, there she is. Hi. The trust factor is something that I talk about a lot in my book. Whether you're on the job seeker side or the hiring manager side, if people can know you, they can like you, and then they can trust you as a boss, as an employee, and as just a human being. So I think if you can build that KLT factor as much as you can, whether that's through video or whatever mode you need to. Another trend that I've seen is how do I explain this? It's like a newer idea, and I think it's all because we're all going virtual, but it's having a platform. So there's all of these new tech platforms now where I can actually go in and I can show up on video and I can ask my 5 questions to where I don't even have to have a live video with that candidate. Oh, wow. I can actually send them that file and say, here I am, here's my video. Now send me back your 5 mini videos of your answers. So this is a new thing, but I like it because I can do it on my own time. They can do it on their own time. They can be as prepared as they want for it. And I can see them and how they are. Yeah.
And share it with multiple people, right?
Mm-hmm. If you have other hiring managers or investors or exactly. Yeah. Yep.
Have you done group virtual interviews?
I haven't. No, I've done in-person group interviews, which is in and of itself a little bit of a cluster because people are, you see who's the dominant, who's the submissive, you see who's the introvert, you see who's the extrovert, you see who likes to talk over people, who is more quiet and shy. I've never tried that in a virtual environment, but I'm interested. If anybody does, tell me about it.
Yeah, I always think like that must be so intimidating as a candidate.
And especially if you're more of that technical brain, you know, my dad's a molecular biophysicist. So my dad's a PhD and then my brother's a Java developer. So, I mean, I grew up in this family of cerebral folks and I'm clearly the black sheep, but I have a heart for those that aren't the extroverted, you know, big live personality like me. So I think it's always coming from a place of compassion.
That's actually a really great point. I think, you know, for all of us, we got to remember that not everybody's like us and we don't want to build a whole company of clones of us.
Exactly. That's where that innovation and creativity comes in. Yeah. I don't want to hire another me because chances are I'll probably
already have a me.
Yeah. Well, and I'll probably clash at some point because that person will try to, you know, become the boss at some point maybe. So yeah. A few technical, more like legalese type questions here. Can I ask that? When did you graduate high school? Nope. What is your native tongue? Nope. Are you married? Nope. Do you have any disabilities? Nope. How often do you call out sick? Nope. Have you ever been arrested? Nope. And how do you feel about unions? Nope. Basically anything that is going to give you some gauge of their age, their marital status, their sexual preference. Like there's so many different things that get into the weeds here with legal questions, but really just avoiding these that are on the screen. And then there's obviously a plethora more.
Do you have a tip for like how to, if, you know, I've been in interviews where people volunteer that information and I'm always like, oh, we're in bad territory. Like,
that's fine. No, that's fine.
How do you get out of the territory?
If it comes from them, and I mean, if it gets uncomfortable, you can literally just move on to the next question. Say, oh, okay, thanks so much for that answer. And then just, you know, next question. But if it's coming from them, don't be concerned that you're crossing a line legally or anything like that. That's volunteered information at that point.
And what if those things are important? So for example, you know, it's not important how old someone is. However, it might be really important to know your, you know, bench. It might be important to know how much experience you have. So I was told that the way that you can get the information that you need without intruding upon someone else's, you know, privacy is you can say, how many years of experience do you have in this industry? So that doesn't give away age, but that does give away proficiency, which is really what you're trying to get to here, right? Like, who cares how old someone is? On the other hand, like, you know, instead of have you ever been arrested, if you work in fintech or like a lawyer, like you do want to know if someone has these things, so you can ask. And again, I'm not, you know, you guys know this better than me, but I thought you can ask if you've been like convicted of a crime or something. There's a specific thing. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna find it out, and I'm gonna like.
No, I do know that changed in 2015. It used to be an allowable question on any job application, and that law changed, so you can no longer ask that.
So how would you know, like, if it's really important?
You would run a background check. You would, I mean, especially for something where they're going to be handling AP, AR, bookkeeping, always run a background check when it has to do with money. And even if you just are giving them a lot of company equipment, say you're giving them, you know, $1,000 MacBook to start off, well, not giving, but, you know, lending with a signed property agreement, of course. If you just feel any sort of uncomfortable, run a background check. They're relatively cheap. I use LexisNexis for mine, and you can do it ad hoc. You don't have to have like a package of them or something if you're just doing a one-off hire.
Yeah, I think I've used like Checker, I think, in the past, and because it also is really inexpensive, but you know, you do need to have consent before. So if you're really early on in the process and you don't really know, you know, it is a little bit like, I don't know if I totally like you yet. However, take this background check.
Yeah.
In California, so great. Okay.
Yeah. And every offer is contingent upon passing a background check. So they actually have to have the offer in writing and signed in order for you to have permission to actually run the background check. So they also need a background authorization form. But I don't want to talk about
that's what I'm saying is that, like, in terms of this flow, like as I'm interviewing someone, if it's important for me to know these things, but I have to get to offer stage in order to do a background check, it does make the process a little bit more onerous.
It does, but welcome to California. The laws are different in other states too, but California has always been very, I don't want to use the wrong words, but yeah, it's a different state. It's a different world. It's a hard territory to navigate, but that's a common pain point.
One of the things that I learned when I moved to California was like this non-compete thing that's special in California, that you can't have, like, a lot of companies, especially ones that don't know any better, will still ask people to sign those, but they're not enforceable.
No, because it's an at-will state. So
yeah, but in particular in California, it's pretty serious.
Yeah. And they don't stand. I mean, I've signed those a ton.
Me too. I actually got sued, and like I got laid off, and then I went to work for a client, and then the company that laid me off sued me, and like it didn't, like they couldn't do anything.
Interesting. Anyway, we are close to time here, so we're at 12:50. Just a few more slides on the offer process before I get into one more slide. So debriefing with other hiring managers, like you said, Johanna, making sure that if people did those video interviews, or if they were available to attend a live video interview, that you're also looping them in and gathering their feedback, kind of debriefing with them. And then having a summary or a written recap, are you actually taking notes, or are you just kind of keeping everything in your head that you learned about that candidate? And then some people actually have a values-based interview evaluation form where they have maybe their 3 to 5 company values laid out. And then, okay, how did the candidate do in these different buckets? And then the pre-hire and offer. So ensuring timely feedback. Again, you're not ghosting people. You're not leaving them kind of just wondering what the heck happened or where they're at in the process. Creating those written offers, always have a written offer. And if you can make it as exciting and culture infused as possible. And then carrying over your operationalized culture and values throughout the entire process. So having a 30, 60, 90-day check-in with your new team member is always helpful as well. Last slide here on the Let's Get You Hired side. So I did just launch a book 2 weeks ago, and it hit bestseller on Amazon in 12 categories, which is super, super exciting.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, I think last time we spoke at the beginning of October, I was like, it's almost ready to launch. So it happened. It's signed, sealed, and delivered and ready on Amazon. These are just a few of the chapter names in here. So basically this is all for the job seeker. It's called Pivoting with Purpose, the Hamster Wheel, the Rat Race, and Other Career Myths Holding You Back. And then Stephen, I think you had some questions too.
Yeah, we'll shorten the ones I gave you a little bit just because for lack of time here. There was a couple that I wanted to ask you, some of them that related to a few things that were actually covered with our cohort before this session. So the first one I wanted to ask you was, so we have a number of non-technical founders in our ecosystem, right? Are there any resources or tips that you would recommend for hiring a technical team member, but you yourself might not have a technical background?
Yeah, I think that was pretty similar to one of the questions that was asked. And basically, every job has those public job descriptions that you can access. So back to that like DevOps engineer example, there's a plethora of examples for you to search on job boards. You can copy and paste it, but just make sure that you're customizing it. Watch those couple of YouTube videos to kind of learn more about it. And then really what I found works the best is getting the actual answer from, I always mess these up because English isn't my first language, but I think it's from the mouth of the horse. But getting the actual, like talking to somebody that works in that role is usually really helpful. If you can get kind of a little 15-minute call with somebody that you might have on LinkedIn as a connection, for example. Did I say that right? Is it the mouth of the horse? Mouth of the babe? Mouth.
It's straight from the mouth of the horse.
Yeah.
Something like that. You're on it.
That was close. Sometimes I say put your ducks in the basket, and then it's eggs in the basket. There's so many of these things in English. I don't know.
So I got another question for you, Melissa, while we still have you. So when hiring as an early stage startup, so we deal with a lot of startups that are in early stage, idea to kind of just getting started. So some of them run into the issues with that happen when you have limited revenue, right? And so a compensation package for, let's say, hiring on a new employee or bringing someone on might be, equity based, or it might be something a little different than your traditional, salaried or hourly compensation structure. You might have touched on this a little bit with just being frank and being honest with whoever you're hiring in the interview process. But what would an employment agreement look like for an early stage startup that's running through kind of those situations?
To be honest, I don't quite understand that question. I can answer that not from a legal standpoint because I'm not a legal person, but I can answer that question from a culture standpoint. So if you don't offer medical, dental, vision, 401k, like I was talking about, which most startups don't, and you don't have the capital to pay this person, maybe even the going rate within the job market, if you're doing a comp analysis and you're trying to figure out, okay, how much do I need to pay this person? And you can't pay them that. Are you asking kind of, how do you sell yourself to that candidate to make them want to work for you and not necessarily go to a competitor? From that standpoint, again, talking about the fun perks. So do you have the wine Wednesdays? Do you have the Friday feels? Do you have the quarterly team building events? Are you issuing a company laptop for them that they can utilize? Are you paying for their cell phone bill every month because you know that they're taking multiple calls a day? Are you simple things like branding, creating swag? Do you have a company water bottle you can give them, a mug, a pen, a notebook on their first day that makes them feel like they're part of something bigger? It's little hacks here and there that you can use that aren't going to break the bank. I think Vivian popped up on video too for just a sec.
She did. She had a question. Vivian, you want to ask that one?
Vivian's my grandmother's name, by the way. I love that name. You're
That's
on
great.
mute. You're on mute. You're on mute.
Congratulations on your book. Thank you so much for being here with us. So my question was, like, what do hiring managers think about like side hustles on your LinkedIn page? So if I'm looking for a job as a systems engineer, but you go to my LinkedIn and I'm the founder and CEO of a side hustle, is that like, competing? Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Just throwing that out there.
From my perspective, I love to see that, because if you've heard of this idea of entrepreneurs and intrapreneurs, I am always going to want to hire somebody that's an intrapreneur, because I know they're going to have that gumption. They're going to be a go-getter. They're going to be creative and innovative, and not somebody that just kind of sits around and waits for work to be passed to them. It shows that you're a high achiever, really. You're a high performer. So to me, by all means, highlight that. You can have your different companies listed on your profile, or even put it on your resume. I've also linked my website, my personal website, within my own corporate resume. Hey, I do have a website. I do have, a book. I do have speaking gigs that I do around the country. I do, from my experience, people love that.
And I know, Stephen, you have one last line of that, talking to your younger self, and then we'll do the kind of the speed networking at the end.
Okay. Yeah. So Melissa, a lot of our tech school sessions that we do, we kind of bookend it with questions similar to this. So wanted to kind of leave you with this. So imagine you had a chance to talk to your younger self before, at the early stages of your journey as a founder. What are one or two tips that you would give to your past self, given the knowledge and experience and everything that you know now?
So this is probably, controversial, but I would have waited to hire longer. I know a lot of people say hire fast. You need people in here right away. If you want to grow and scale, or if you want to get to hit your goals, then you need to have this whole big team underneath you. That's what I heard a lot when I first started. I started a residential decluttering company. So I have a company called Let's Get You Organized as well, in 2011. And for employees. And anyway, I wouldn't have hired as quickly as I did. I don't think I had the processes and the structures in place. I don't think I knew who I was as a business owner, as a hiring manager, as a boss, well enough to bring these people on. And my first 2 hires were virtual assistants. And to be completely honest, I think I had them working on the stuff that was a lot more fluffy and did not have a return on investment of what I was paying them to do. So I think it was kind of a money sink, and I wouldn't have, if I could go back and like erase that decision, then I would.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
I feel like I understand why your book is like a bestseller. You gave us so much information, Melissa.
Yay. Hopefully you're not like spinning, but maybe there's a replay you can rewatch on YouTube.
Yeah, I do feel it could be definitely a part 2, right? I think people still had more questions. We had more questions. We'll see what that looks like. Mm-hmm. What we usually do now, Melissa, was kind of like, since I'm kind of part of Startup San Diego, the startup month that we're doing, after our kind of session, we do this kind of like speed networking, like one round of 5 minutes. Are you okay to stay around for that?
Yeah. Do you do like breakout rooms?
Yeah, it's just one-on-one. Yeah. It's just like a little one-on-one.
Sure.
Stephen if you could set up the room for that part. And then we'll have everything going. It's Sunny's ready. She gave me thumbs up, so everyone can go in a room. But Melissa, one thing, is there anything else is going on other than the book? Is there another place you're going to be talking to, or can you give us a little bit of that?
Yeah, basically my website is www.letsgetyouhired.biz. I'm at letsgetyouhired.biz on Instagram, which I'm pretty active on. I do little 5-minute videos a few times a week on there with little tidbit bite-sized information, as well as at letsgetyouhired.biz on Facebook, and Let's Get You, like the letter U, hired on Twitter. So all of those platforms I'm pretty active on if you want more.
Okay, that's great. That's good. That's solid. That's solid. Steve, are you ready with the rooms?
And do we have a link for ordering the book?
Yeah, it's simple. It's a little link. It's bit.ly. I'll put it into the chat.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I'll add it on the YouTube recording too.
Yay.
That's great.
Good reminder. I'm still like, oh, I read a book.
Yeah. That's great.
All right, so should we close it out, Curling, and then I'll get everyone in the breakout rooms?
That'd be great.
Awesome. Well, for everyone tuning in live and on YouTube, whether it's recording or if you watch it on YouTube live, thanks for tuning in. Just to echo the statement from the beginning, if you have a chance, feel free to like, comment, subscribe. All the likes, comments, interactions we get with videos like this help it push out to more people. So that like that you left, or that comment that you gave us to share your thoughts or ask a question, could push it out to an entrepreneur, could push it out to somebody who really needed to hear something in the message today. So from Melissa. So if you have a chance, feel free to do that. And but yeah, thanks for tuning in for another episode of Tech School.